Good evening. Welcome to the December 11th, 2023 Troy City Council meeting. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Father in heaven, we give you thanks for the blessings of this day and for the blessings you've given each and every one of us, and we ask that you continue to provide those blessings as you see fit. We ask that you be with all of us during this time of holiday season. As we are in the middle of Hanukkah, we're facing the Christmas season, we've just concluded Diwali, and of course all of the other religious and important holidays that we celebrate here in the city of Troy. We know that now is a time of light when we're looking to celebrate the light and put the light over the darkness. We ask that that be our theme for how we approach decision making tonight. Focus on the positive, focus on the light, and come together as a community for the good of our community. We ask that you continue to bless our first responders, police, fire, EMS, as well as our Public Works Department, recognizing that they are often the ones taking the calls in the middle of the night when the rest of us are at home sleeping safely and resting comfortably, keeping us safe in this community. Please be with all of us in this council chamber this evening and all throughout the city, especially as the weather turns into that wintry cold that makes it difficult for many. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll call to order the December 11th, 2023 Troy City Council meeting and ask for the roll call from Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga?
Here.
Councilmember Chanda?
Here.
Councilmember Gunn?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Here.
All present, finally, this evening. First up on the agenda are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have 3 this evening. C1, I'm not sure if C1 and C2 are going together or if they're going separately, but we do have legislative updates by our State Representative Sharon McDonald and also State Representative Tom Coon. Representative McDonald, you're up first on the agenda if you're not going together.
I was just settling in to enjoy the show. Didn't know I'd be up so fast. Good evening, Mayor Baker, City Council members, city staff, and people of Troy. Thank you so much for allowing me a few moments with you today to offer my legislative update for the end of the 2023 legislative year. I am State Representative Sharon McDonald of District 56, which includes most of Troy, especially west of John R. Road. I also represent Clawson and parts of Royal Oak, Birmingham, and Bloomfield Township. My Lansing office staff includes my legislative aide and constituents lead, Kelly Jones, who's here today. Raise your hand, Kelly. Okay, so far this year, she has led our office in fielding nearly 11,000 emails and helping over 3,000 constituents. Constituent concerns can range from sharing ideas about upcoming votes to losing power and needing help to sign up for unemployment benefits. Our constituents in District 56 may contact our office for assistance at 517-373-2617, and I'll repeat this at the end of my comments, or by emailing us at sharonmcdonald@house.mi.gov. Also on my staff is Legislative Director Matt Dargay, who I think is not here yet. But he handles all things policy by taking our legislative ideas from initial concept to being signed by the governor, hopefully. Now on to the update. We've had a very busy year in Lansing. In this, my first year, I've attended or hosted 91 events. I've also sponsored or co-sponsored 359 bills and 30 resolutions. I'll just share highlights of some of my achievements as well as those of the overall legislature. My most recent legislation was signed into law by Governor Whitmer this past Friday and is now in effect. The package of 2 bills is commonly called Justice for Allie, named after a young Troy woman with Down syndrome who was exploited online in 2017. After it happened, it became apparent that no law in Michigan made it a crime to sexually target vulnerable adults online, meaning adults with such issues as Alzheimer's or intellectual or developmental disabilities. The legislature passed the bills unanimously this fall in a rare bipartisan win in Lansing. Today, those who sexually target vulnerable adults online will face serious consequences and jail time. During the state budget process this summer, I was able to secure $10 million for the noise walls that will be built along I-75 in Troy, much to the relief of Troy residents who have witnessed increased road noise there since recent construction was completed. We worked with the I-75 Noise Mitigation Group of Troy residents to get this done, and credit must also be given to the group's point person, Lorraine Scussel, who I bet you all heard from. The group proved that citizens can force positive change in their own community. Another benefit to Troy, with the assistance of the city manager, former city councilwoman Ann Erickson Galt, and the cricket-loving population of Troy, I was able to secure $900,000 toward a long-awaited cricket field in Troy. It's going to be built in Bolin Park, hopefully next year. Early this year, we passed quite a bit of popular legislation, all of which is now law or will be soon. That includes repealing right-to-work laws of a previous administration, the repeal of retirement taxes, and an increase in the earned income tax credit for working families. We passed a very popular package of common sense gun safety bills that maintain over 70% approval among Michiganders. Those laws will create universal background checks and will help keep guns out of the hands of both criminals and children. Last month, we passed a clean energy package that puts Michigan at the forefront of the country in preparing for a clean energy future. It includes a mandate that by the year 2040, energy generated in Michigan will be 100% carbon neutral. Now very little bit, because it was a big budget, but a little bit more about the budget for fiscal 2024. We made some good strides for the people and municipalities in Michigan and in District 56. We approved a $62 million year-over-year increase in revenue sharing with municipalities that will bring more of Troy's revenue back to Troy. A 5% increase in per-pupil funding for all public K-12 students, the largest year-over-year increase in the state's history. We also approved the largest year-over-year increase in funding to the Special Education Foundation allowance, with extra support for economically disadvantaged students. And we approved much-needed $328 million for student mental health and school safety. These new laws and budget items are just a few of the hundreds of improvements the 102nd legislature has brought to Michigan. And just a little more detail about my newer responsibilities in Lansing. In addition to my 5 committees, this summer I restarted the Michigan Legislative Disability Caucus, in which experts in the field, families, and persons with disabilities strategize ways to make their lives better and services easier to navigate. I was also appointed to the Attorney General's Elder Abuse Task Force, where we focus on protecting older Michiganders from all forms of exploitation. So that's just a small portion of our activity in Lansing so far this term. And again, if any constituents have questions or need help, they may contact at our office at number 517-373-2617, or by emailing us at sharonmcdonald@house.mi.gov. Thank you all for your attention. I'm happy to take questions if you have any, and if I don't have the answers, I can get them to you soon.
Thank you, Representative McDonald. Any questions from council? Councilmember Hamilton?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say hi. Thank you for coming, Representative.
Thank you.
My question is, do we have, and you might not have this with you now, do we have a timeline on the sound wall, like when that project will start? Or
Yes.
sound mitigation, probably know it would be.
Right. I know initially MDOT told the Oakland Press that they thought they would be done with the project by 2025. Then they had told people 2026 was more likely. I think I've talked to them and convinced them, hopefully, to get it done at the latest by fall of 2025. But we'll see how that goes. We'll do our best to keep persuading them to keep it as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Councilmember Gunn?
Mine's about the wall, too, so I'm glad we got that going. That was the budget from, I think, last year, so is there more additional funds coming in the next budget year? Because I know they were still short.
It wasn't short because, now that's complicated waters there. It wasn't short because there are certain eligibility requirements that the areas along I-75 had to meet to get the funding. So MDOT, we got all of the budget needed for the areas of I-75 that were approved by MDOT.
Okay.
That was the catch.
Gotcha.
And those eligibility requirements are mandated by the federal government. So there is possibility. I know State Senator Weber is working on a plan to try to get federal government to pay for this kind of mitigation, sound mitigation. I think it's a problem that's becoming bigger across the country. It may have to do with the technology they're using on roads, I think. Some people have explained to me that it's the grooves in the road that make people safer, that keep water buildup from happening, but then I think that creates more sound on the wheels. And as our EVs get heavier, trucks get heavier, that sound is going to be a problem, I think, across the country. So we'll keep our eyes out for ways to improve that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Cranger.
Following up on this, the same question. First of all, thank you, Representative, for all your work with the sound walls. I know you were also working to help expend that first tranche of money. I think that was $6 million that both Representative Koupa, our former representative, and State Senator McMorrow had received. I don't know if you've had any movement on that or what the.
I can tell you
that because we have 2 tranches. I think it's important for residents to remember.
Yes. There were 3 different appropriations that were made over the sound wall over the past few years. The first one was $300,000 to pay for the sound study that had to be done. The second one was another $4 million that went toward it, and hope that's not my phone. And that $4 million went toward, my understanding, and I made sure at the beginning of the project, that went toward the initial engineering study and other things that had to be done in preparation. And then they said all of the extra would go along with that $10 million. Actually, they did say the amount of the project would be between $12 and $14 million. So ultimately, that covers everything. So it has been expended.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays. Merry Christmas. Next up is C2, a legislative update by State Representative Tom Coon.
Here, City Council people. Thanks so much for having us here this evening. I'm glad you had my esteemed colleague, Representative McDonald, up first, because she got to tell you everything that has happened. But I'd like to talk a little briefly about something that has not happened, but I think we should really be working hard towards, and that is openness and transparency. Having spent 28 years at the local level, I know how open and transparent this government is with regard to what is done on the local level, what is spent on the local level, and even the openness of records and documents. To me, the biggest shock going up to Lansing was the lack of openness and transparency in the budgeting process. We have a budgeting process up there that's basically very secret, and we know part of, this is a bipartisan problem. I mean, we see the chat fields, we hear about other legislative leaders up there, and part of the problem is the process. It's secret. We have a situation where I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I don't see any appropriations before I vote on it. Nobody in the legislature sees any appropriations, but these are thousands of pages long, and yet no one sees them. And you read in the paper, a couple of years later, the Detroit News or the Detroit Free Press figures out what was actually in the budget and said, whoa, this was not the right thing. We can't do it that way. It is just bad policy. And I recently was talking to a major stakeholder who indicated that they had this project for a major semiconductor processor who wanted to come to Michigan. Big company. Well, the appropriation was supposed to be done, but not even that stakeholder, which is a major university in this state, was told what the language was put in the boilerplate. The boilerplate language was wrong. So they aren't able to even progress with what would be otherwise a fantastic program. We need to have more openness. We need transparency in our budgeting process. We've brought some bills that say 7 days after they come up with this budget that the legislature, the public, the press, everybody gets 7 days to see what's actually in the budget. This is not rocket science. This is being done by legislatures and governments all over this country. And sadly, Michigan remains one of the least transparent governments anywhere. We're working currently on a new Freedom of Information Act bill, which includes the legislature and the governor. Those branches should be subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and they are everywhere else except for Michigan and maybe one other state in this country. It's not right. And I'm also looking at some other changes, common sense changes to the Freedom of Information Act that have arisen from, from the years that we've actually had it in place here at the local level. So a little different perspective. Sharon was able to give you a very good rundown on what has happened, but I'm giving you a rundown of what I think we really need to do in the coming year, and hopefully we'll be able to accomplish some of that. So thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you, Representative Coon. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Representative, for coming. I was curious, has anything, I know there was like a package floating, a bipartisan package for transparency floating around. I don't think I've kept up on it, but has anything passed yet and been signed, or?
Well, there's a variety of transparency bills that have been brought forward. The only bill that actually passed what had to do with financial disclosures, because the Constitution required that it be done before the end of December, that bill was passed. But other than that, the rest of the transparency bills have not passed. And hopefully, we will see a renewed effort by the entire legislature to look at this and address this. It's a very serious concern. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Thank you for
Councilmember Gunn?
coming. Well, I just said thank you for coming and giving the update.
Okay, well, again, thank you for all you do. Having been at the local level, you guys are the most important people in government. Believe me, and the citizens should know that too, just because of how much you do for the daily lives and neighborhoods and families that we have here in our community, and thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Representative Coon. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Next up is C3. American Lung Association recognizes the 2023 Troy Fire Stair Climb Team. That'll be introduced by our Fire Chief, Pete Hullinger. I think. Yeah, he didn't get up, but he is now, so. Maybe it won't be introduced by Pete, but.
I was going to say, it's not being introduced by me, but.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emma Verlinden. I am the Development Coordinator with the American Lung Association in Michigan. I want to thank the City of Troy, the Council, and Dave Basel for bringing me here tonight to thank and congratulate the Troy Fire Department. It's my pleasure to acknowledge the Troy Fire Department as our top fundraising firefighter team for the 2023 Fight for Air Climb, our signature stair climbing event that supports the American Lung Association's initiatives toward clean air and healthy lungs. The 20 dedicated individuals of the Troy Fire Department team surpassed their fundraising goal of $10,000 with an amazing total of $16,655. Over the past 6 years, the Troy Fire Department has raised over $38,000 at our stair climb. On behalf of the American Lung Association, we would like to award the Troy Fire Department as our reigning champions for the top fundraising firefighter team for their 3rd year in a row. We would also like to recognize their teammate Bill Visnoff for raising $7,500, making him a member of our Mission Possible team. You afterwards. As you know, firefighters may experience occupational exposure to gases, chemicals, particulates, and other substances with potentially damaging short and long-term effects on the respiratory system. The funds raised throughout our climb season help fund our national initiatives to promote clean air and lung health for heroes like the Troy Fire Department, not only in Michigan, but throughout the entire country. Their dedication furthers the American Lung Association's research, education, and advocacy programs across the nation to support those impacted by lung disease and drive forward the mission of a future with clean air for all. We are truly grateful for their support and their participation and their dedication, and we look forward to seeing them at our 2024 Fight for Air Climb on May 19th.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you for all your work. Thank you. You want to get pictures, Cindy? Perfect. Yeah.
Photo op. That's for everybody.
Let's open up and see.
Oh, we're bring it back.
That one is just massive.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Congratulations.
That concludes certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have no carryover items this evening or public hearings. My understanding is the gentleman who signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses actually meant to sign up later, so we'll do that later. No need for reply then. No postponed items, so we move on to regular business. I-1 is board and committee appointments. First up are mayoral appointments. I have a few this evening, so I'll move the nominations or the appointments of Lisa Bika-Grodzki, Sadia Serigne, and Philippe Cecchini for the Global Troy Advisory Committee to the terms expiring October 30th, 2026.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Kranga, that we approve they're actually reappointments of Lisa Bika-Grodzki, Sadia Serigne, Philippe Cecchini to the Global Trade Advisory Committee for the terms expiring October 30th, 2026. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, I will move the reappointments of Toby Beekner, Carlton Faison, and Jaya Lakshmi Malalahali to the Planning Commission for the term expiring December 31st, 2026.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, that we approve the reappointments of Toby Beekner, Carlton Faison, and Jaya Lakshmi Malalahali to the Planning Commission for the term expiring December 31st, 2026. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. We thank very much those three planning commissioners as well as the Global Troy Advisory Committee members for their continued service. That concludes mayoral appointments this evening. We have no city council appointments, so we move on to I-2 board and committee nominations. I have no mayoral nominations, so I will turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick for city council nominations.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make 2 nominations to the Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments. For delegate, Councilman David Hamilton, and for the alternate, Councilman Harak Chanda, both with terms ending November 2025.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve the nominations to the Southeastern Michigan Council of Government, SEMCOG, David Hamilton as the delegate and Harak Chanda as the alternate for the terms expiring November 2025. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes City Council nominations this evening. We have no closed session requested this evening, so we'll move on to I-4, Contract Amendment, Emergency Medical and First Responder Services. That'll be introduced by Fire Chief Pete Hollinger.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight I bring before you an amendment to our emergency medical contract, which is currently held with Alliance Mobile Healthcare. Back in November, Alliance reached out to the city and indicated that come January 1st of this year, to continue the current program or current deployment model we have with the 3 paramedic first responder units, it's going to have to be a significant per hour cost increase. With that letter that they sent to us, they also proposed a second option, which was to modify our medical deployment model. So we met with Alliance, myself and city management, discussed both options, later followed up with many questions and concerns, but after much talking and that, decided that option 2, which was a change in deployment model, would be the best option to move forward with for the city of Troy. Option 2 will change the deployment from the 3 paramedic first responder units we currently have to 1 paramedic first responder unit and replace the other 2 units with dedicated advanced life support ambulances. So we will still maintain the 3 medical units that we require per our contract right now, but it will be changing from being 1 paramedic responder unit to having 2 additional transport units, which we currently do not have. With this deployment model, there would be no financial impact to the contract moving forward as well. So I am available for questions. Vince from Alliance is here as well, who is welcome to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from council for either Chief Hollinger or for Vince, Vince Marius, the Executive Director from Alliance? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
Just a fundamental question, because we're used to having Alliance in our midst. Vince and his team, will he still be part of the fabric of this response going forward?
So yes, our contract is currently still with Alliance. As the letter did indicate, Alliance, there is a possible buyout of Alliance that's taking place. We have nothing official on that at this point, so we're moving forward everything with Alliance.
Any other questions from council? Someone like to move the resolution? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
I'll move I-4, Contract Amendment, Emergency Medical and First Responded Services as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Chanda, that we approve I-4 Contract Amendment, Emergency Medical and First Responder Services as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Councilmember Hamilton.
Yeah, just to remind residents, this has been a topic of conversation for a while, and we have another study that we've put out to kind of investigate the future of EMS in Troy, and we'll get the results of that study sometime in the middle of 2024, but this is the next step to bridge the gap as we go through that.
Additional comments, Mayor? Council? Oh, let's see. I'm having a hard time with names tonight. Everyone's moved around and has different titles. Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe on a more lighthearted note, but I want to thank Vince. I want to thank Alliance. You've been such, and you will continue to be a present in our community. I know my son, a highlight is often we would go to, whether it is the public safety bash, held at the Troy Police Department or the Troy Historic Village every year, and you were there, Vince. Not just your staff, but you were there with your staff, always out in the community, engaging the community, doing so many activities, and I just want to thank you for that. It's left an impression on my son and on our family, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig. Additional? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
You know, coming out of COVID, we've seen a number of professions with challenges of hiring, being able to recruit and hiring, and EMS, we've heard about it with police, and this isn't unique to Troy. This is the case in many communities, and I just want to put, I remember reading an article in the Troy Times where there was a very specific discussion about that and the reality of staff shortages and the encouragement for folks who are looking to do public servant type work. This is a need. This is a very real need in Troy and just all around our region. And I would encourage, if you know someone you think might be good at this, or you're wondering how you could step into public safety response, emergency medical and first responder services are such a critical part of our communities, and we take it for granted very easily. Kind of like our nurses and our teachers. I mean, this has been a dynamic in our culture, mostly since COVID, it seems. Our first responders in Troy are amazing, and police, fire, EMS. I always put our DPW crew in there a little bit too, because those guys show up with the trucks to help block traffic, and they make sure the water is getting to for our firefighters. It is a team effort, and it is an amazing team. I wish I was younger, starting over, and stronger, probably. These are wonderful professions to enter into, and I just want to make an extra special plug for EMS tonight here with this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick. Any other discussion? I'll just add that I think a lot of people in Troy don't realize that our EMS is contracted out. It's not unlike our police and fire, they're not city employees directly. So we work really hard our city management and this council, of course, works really hard to make sure we have a good working relationship with our EMS. I know that, and that works the same with the fire chief and the police chief. And it's been Vince who's been the executive director of Alliance for quite a while. As long as I've been up here, it's been Vince. And I appreciate Vince working hard, not just for the business that he oversees, but also for the residents of Troy. I mean, he really is a community member, part of the community fabric of this city. And I thank you, Vince, for that. And I also appreciate, I know there's lots of reasons to adjust this contract, but your goal is to make sure that the residents of Troy are well serviced from an EMS standpoint. I always appreciate you looking for the best ways to do that. So with that, I'll ask for the vote. Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up is I-5 2024 City Council meeting schedule, and that'll be introduced by Deputy City Manager Robert J. Bruner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seems like a long time ago, but back in January 2020, before the world shut down, we had an opportunity to conduct a City Council orientation program following the November 2019 election. And so we have some dates to repeat that program in 2024 on January 8th, 22nd, and 29th, if City Council wishes to do so. We also have a request from James Vitrano for the City Council to schedule a meeting in March for the city manager recruitment, and he's provided 3 dates in March. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start. So As I was looking at this, because I didn't benefit from this, because I came in just a little after in 2020. I think I just got the PowerPoints. But having been involved in city government, I think it was all very explainable. I think my only question is, there's a date proposed, January 22nd. So we had already agreed that that would not be, if these are going to be official city council meetings, that, and I know right now it's just, I think myself, is I'm not available. I'm overseas a whole week. And so one question is there a way to condense these into 2 meetings and do them on the 8th and 29th? And secondly, kind of, is there a way, when you're thinking of these, instead of doing an orientation, because, you know, there's multiple ways. Harak is now a member on SEMCOG, so you're going to get exposed to a lot of resources through SEMCOG. MML has a lot of resources. They've already kicked off their new elected trainings, which hopefully Harak and Mark, you'll have a chance to do those. They're excellent. And so I presume that the advantage of these is these are more oriented to Troy, and you get to meet the heads of the departments. I mean, one thing I was thinking, I actually have valued most coming in is actually when it's more of a site visit. I think I will never forget the moment my son happened to be home from school that day, is with City Manager Miller. We had a chance to go to DPW with Director Bovenseat and see in action how things work, how water's monitored, to see the machines and apparatuses that we're approving on council. So just to throw that out there, you know, if there's any way to do these, I know that's hard with, and I know the reason why you're trying to propose this as official meetings is because of quorum. We need to be sensitive to that. But just, you know, love to hear what others have to say in terms of, or just if others have questions about, you know, whether these should be official meetings, and even if we do agree to do those, that there could be some ethics rolled into any of them that we need to do. I'm open to kind of having that benefit of that in there. Could we condense them to 2 meetings? And just the 22nd, I'm not available, so I prefer not to have it that week.
So I heard 2 questions, and you're right about the 22nd. I think that was an oversight on my part. The goal was to have special meetings before regular meetings on the 8th and the 29th, and then because those are, you know, limited to 90-minute meetings, we can't fit the whole program in 2 nights. So certainly if the 22nd doesn't work, you know, we could select different dates in January, select a date in February. I don't have a preference. They're your meetings to schedule. Regarding the content, it is choice specific. When we did this in 2019, we had recently resurrected the Citizens Academy, and so we took that content and really, which is I think a 14-week program, and condensed it down to these 3 sessions. So it is choice specific, and I think we can deliver it in 3 sessions, but probably not 2.
City Attorney Bloom?
Yes, I also, again, it is council's meeting to be scheduled, but based on a potential conflict in March, with those March dates, I did reach out to Mr. Bertrano, and he said that he can accommodate other dates as well. So these are not the only dates that he would have. Obviously, we want to keep moving forward with the city manager search, but there is some flexibility.
Well, I would just
Councilor Brooks.
thank you, Mayor. I would just like to put it out there that I do have a conflict with the January 8th, so I don't know if that matters or not. But.
Is there, let's start, this is not how we should be scheduling meetings, but do we want to do these meetings? Is there consensus to have this orientation? This came to us kind of unexpectedly, even though it was something we've done before. Let's answer that question. I mean, for the new members, I think you strongly benefit from learning a lot of this stuff. And I will say 4 years ago, I think it was great, even having been on for 4 years, to have this program. I am happy to do it again because I think you learn something new every time and it's important. But I'm hesitant to have too much conversation about who's not available when, and from the table it's not an efficient use of time, and it might be better to first answer a threshold question if we want to do this at all as a body.
Yeah, I mean, I can move that. Yeah, I would like to have a meeting with orientation. I mean, as a new member,
That
certainly is beneficial for me, so.
that makes sense, for sure.
But do we need it for everyone? I mean, an official meeting, that's a different question. I don't know the answer to that, so.
Yeah. Councilmember Hamilton?
Yeah, I would just say, from being through 5 or 6 budget processes and having this orientation already, I went through the Citizens Police Academy before and many MML trainings. I do not need this, but I definitely think the new members do. So, I mean, maybe we could do it with just the 2 of them as like an unofficial meeting, or if other members here want to do it too, that's fine as well, but I don't need it, yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, thoughts? Sorry, put you on the spot, but it's more efficient.
I've been around forever. You would think that I would say I don't need this. I will say staff heads change. It's beneficial, not only to us, but members of the community are also able to see. It's a way of kind of a quick hit Citizens Academy, if you will, and can have a broader reach. I mean, as I'm sitting here and thinking about it, we are also, when there's when there are new members on council, the dynamics of the council change. We're a team, even when we bring different perspectives and opinions, and there's value in proceeding accordingly. Now, that said, if some of us who have been around a while aren't at a particular meeting that night, maybe they catch up watching or what have you, and the priorities for attendance should be our newest members who I know are anxious to really, gain better understanding, but you always learn something, always. You get an insight that you haven't had before. So I guess I'm leaning toward, wanting to do that, even though I think there's some challenges with the calendar.
I can share next. So I do lean a little bit more towards Dave. I know I'm unusual. I came into council having already grown up around city government, so I was very familiar. I'd worked in jobs at the World Bank that were working in the sectors. I think for me, more than sitting through PowerPoints, they're always great PowerPoints, Bob, but having a long PowerPoint, I think I'm more in a position, and I think this could be, again, in addition, maybe, I think it'd be great for you all as newcomers to have these PowerPoints, have these orientations. But for example, something we were asking is at some point, as there's capacity, have a ride along in the police department to understand their needs. As I mentioned, I had an amazing visit at DPW that really brought light. I think those are the experiences I feel like I'm in a place, but I know it's a different position. And if there is, so I would prefer these to be as needed for the members who are new. And I think there are other ways, and again, I have the PowerPoints, I'm happy to look at those again. There's always great reminders, but maybe find other more hands-on ways to dive into government. B, if my colleagues do want to do these sessions, I just would ask maybe, could there be a Saturday that they're all condensed into for a couple of hours? They just seem to be spread over a lot of meetings, and they are official meetings, so, you do feel pressure to be there, so, despite your travel and your commitments.
Councilmember Gunn.
So this orientation is a little more enhanced, more information than what we went through on the Saturday, the 8-hour?
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would be very much open to them as long as we maybe didn't consider it on the 8th. For personal reasons?
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of benefit to having the orientation, especially for Harak and Mark in particular, absolutely. I do agree with Ellen that we can all learn something from it. It is always hard to schedule, especially 3 meetings, and everybody has busy schedules and there's going to be conflicts, so that's always a hard thing. I would prefer if it was if it could be optional, but if it's an official meeting, I don't know if you can make it optional, but I don't know. There's benefit, and I will definitely attend as long as I don't have the conflict.
cleared everything up. We all have a very different meeting. So
Mayor,
yeah.
there's no way we can do scheduling from here because maybe members of the public don't know, but we do not have access to our electronic calendars because it would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act if we're looking at our phones or whatnot, and those are put away during the meeting. I think there's a direction that we want to try to achieve this on some level. Sounds like we could explore maybe some other dates for the city manager recruitment in March. Could that best be vetted with emails to us where we're responding back to our availability and we could proceed from there? I think if we are adding on orientations, adding them on to pre-existing city council meetings would be my preference. And if that takes a few months and we don't knock it off in 3 weeks' time, so be it. But that we'd have that chance to explore as a team and as we're available to get here. So I think exploring the dates offline, though, might be a better approach than trying to do it here from the table.
That makes sense to everybody? Yeah, I think it's cleaner for sure. City Manager Miller?
I think the most important date is the city manager one, and I think City Attorney Bloom could probably focus on that one initially, and then we can follow up with Beth and Bob in our office to try to coordinate over a longer period of time, 6 p.m. meetings, if that sounds good.
That makes sense. Okay. We do have a late submittal. Anything else for I-5 questions? Okay. We do have a late submittal for I-6. It is, I'm actually not sure what it's called. It's I-6 to me. Bid waiver, there it is, sorry. Bid waiver and budget amendment, library PC management system, POS system, and printing, scanning, faxing system. That'll be introduced by Emily Dumas, our library director.
And also, I brought up Lauren Arnsman. She's our head of digital services, too.
Perfect.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we come before you. We're going to ask for approval to make some improvements to our computer lab at the library. So Troy Public Library has a very busy computer lab. We have thousands of patrons use it every month. Actually, when we had our consultants for the strategic planning, they made the comment that it was the most busy computer lab they've seen in years. I think this really is something I credit to Lauren's department. We have a department that runs that lab, and she has a dedicated team that gives individualized personal help to the users. So it's become really a destination for people, whether they do have a device at home or not. So because of that, we do try to really stay on top of the technology in the lab and make sure we're providing the best experience for both the users and also the staff. So with that in mind, we have looked around and done our homework, and we would like to request migrating over to today's business solution for our library PC management system, the printing, scanning, faxing system, and also we want to institute a point of sale system also through today's business solution so we could start taking credit cards. I'm going to have Lauren tell you a bit more about why we came to the decision to ask for approval tonight, so I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. One of the advantages to TBS is just going to streamline efficiency for my department. We currently have a separate station where we have to go to print guest passes or release any prints that patrons do. Today's business solutions will allow us to do it strictly from any available staff station, so that'll allow us to help more patrons more efficiently. Today's business solution also has more secure functions as far as how they transmit scans and faxes, which our current system just does not, unfortunately. Also, it is available in 25+ languages and other accessibility features, which is really important with a lot of, our community and seniors especially. What else? The scanning response is much faster, and the wireless printing is also much faster, which is going to be a real improvement upon our current system.
So one thing I wanted to mention too is we have not updated these systems since 2009. And since that time, there have been some new systems added to the market. However, there still aren't a lot. So I feel pretty confident to say that we researched this and we were able to come to the conclusion that today's business solutions would be the best option for our specific needs at the library. Therefore, tonight, I am going to be asking for a bid waiver to go with today's business solution, and also to get a budget amendment for $35,000. That's going to include a one-time installation and hardware fee. So with that said, if anybody has any questions at this time, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Emily and Lauren. Any questions? Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. So what is the timeline if this is approved to get this implemented?
So, and Lauren, jump in if I'm wrong, but 8 weeks is what we're looking at.
Thank you.
And our contract with our current system does expire in March.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question. So there's a hardware fee. Is there an ongoing, I can't remember if I saw that in there, kind of service fee that you pay?
Yes, there is going to be a yearly maintenance fee, and actually it's, I think, $1,400 less than our current, what we currently pay for our system.
Councilmember Gunn, do you have a question?
The $35,000, how much is the installation fee of that?
Lauren, can you?
Sure. Yeah, so the majority of it is, let me see. The majority of it, I think, is the installation fee, and it's also to purchase the equipment as well. And that's kind of a one-time fee to purchase the equipment. There are some segments that we would rent, but that's the same as our current system. So that's for the POS. Yeah. Yeah, and like we're purchasing a POS, point of sale system for our circulation desk, which we currently don't have, which would greatly improve our customer service. Currently, circulation staff have to direct patrons to another terminal to make credit card payments, and that's just...
Do they give a warranty? How long is it?
Yeah, I believe they do, yeah.
That'd be kind of important, I think, to know we're covered for a while.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes, I did review the agreement, and yes, there are warranties. It's an as-is warranty. It is limited to the price of the contract, but we did push back on that, and we've got the best that we're going to get.
Yeah, and to Councilmember Gunn, too, we did include the contracts in our item as well. So if you want to take a closer look at those are in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? Our City Manager Miller.
Just some additional information that the bid waiver is going to come from the library millage fund balance. And one of the reasons why this was a late submittal, because they have to get this implemented by March, is one of the reasons why. We would have had to wait until January and burn 4 weeks.
Perfect. What else? We'll move the agenda, or move the item. Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-6, bid waiver and budget amendment, library PC management system, POS, point of sale system, and printing, scanning, faxing system, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve I-6 bid waiver and budget amendment library PC management system, POS system, and printing, scanning, and faxing system, which was a late submittal and is in the agenda. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Councilmember Hamilton?
I'll move all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Motion carries. If you're here for an item on the consent agenda this evening, they all have been approved. There are no memorandums and future council agenda items to announce this evening, so we move on to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. As a reminder, you're given 3 minutes per our rules of procedure. When the light turns yellow, you have 1 minute left, and when it turns red, your time is up. So first up on the list is Prahlad Rao.
Dear Mayor, dear respected council members, and officials of Troy Township. Hello, my name is Prahlad, a eighth grader in Baker Middle School. I'm part of an organization called Shivali Kutumba of North America, where a non-profit organization where my dad is one of the founding members. There's a Sanskrit saying, Annadanam Mahadanam. By donating food, Annadanam, you can touch another life and enrich your own. Annadanam is made out of 2 words, annam, which means food, and danam, which means the act of giving or donating. Having grown up, I've witnessed the significance of giving, and it's true for most of the Hindu community. When I came to US in 2016, I became involved as a volunteer along with my parents in various organizations. Particularly, Seva Diwali touched the heart as it makes the difference in the life of hunger. Contributing to the community in need has been immensely rewarding. So, Shivali Kutumba joined hands with Seva Diwali as a partner organization, which helped me to associate closely to collect the food and part of the Seva Diwali journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prahlad. Next up is Pranav Chandu.
Namaste. My name is Pranav Chandu. I'm a sophomore at the International Academy East, and I'm from Troy. Today I will be talking about the 2023 Troy donations of Seva Diwali. Seva Diwali is an active service by the Dharma community which involves individuals that practice Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. This also includes temples, gurudwaras, linguistic and Indian social cultures organizations who believe in Seva Dharma. Seva Dharma meaning service to humanity is service to divinity. We've received numerous donations throughout this year, and I'm excited to share some of our statistics. On November 17th, we donated 1,300 pounds of food to the Abhi Shah Foundation, located in Dearborn Heights. This event took place with Dearborn Mayor Bill Bazzi as the guest of honor, accompanied by other volunteers. The Abhi Shah Foundation provides shelter and care for needy kids, currently hosting about 40 to 50 children. On November 22nd, we contributed 900 pounds of food to the Faith Lutheran Church, Troy Food Pantry, situated at 37365 DeQuinda Road. Our very own Troy Mayor, Ethan Baker, was the guest of honor. On November 28th, we donated 1,700 pounds of food to Grace Centers of Hope in Pontiac. The guest of honor for this event was the owner of Patil Brothers grocery store. Additionally, on December 10th, we donated 1,000 pounds of food to the ISKCON Temple in Farmington Hills. In total, we have donated around 4,900 pounds of food so far, and we plan to contribute to other organizations in the coming weeks. We only accept vegetarian food items such as cereals, oatmeals, beans, pulses, rice, canned fruits, vegetables, pasta, canned soups, peanut butter, and cookies, all of which should be in non-glass containers. For more information, please visit savadiwali.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Sharia Rao.
Dear respected council member, mayor, and officials of Troy Township, I'm Sharia Rao, a 12-year-old resident of Troy, Michigan, and a proud volunteer with Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, also known as HSS. Over the past decade, HSS has dedicated itself to serving our community through various initiatives such as Yogathon, Teacher Appreciation Day, food drives, and community cleanups. Today, I am thrilled to share the positive outcomes of Seva Diwali food donation drive. Seva Diwali, a collaborative effort of Hindu American communities and organizations, has been a beacon of selfless service for over 10 years. Nationally coordinated by HSS, this initiative began in 2018 and has since grown to 250 cities in 2023, collecting an impressive 1.8 million pounds of food for 514 beneficiaries nationwide. In this year alone, we have collected 126,000 pounds of food. In Troy, our fifth Seva Diwali drive, which took place from September 26th to November 10th, was a resounding success. We partnered with 21 local entities entities while creating a dedicated team of volunteers, including students. We've already donated 5,000 pounds of food to 4 beneficiaries and have exciting plans to contribute even more in the coming weeks. We are proud to be making a difference in this community. Namaste, and thank you for helping us make a positive impact.
Thank you. Next up is Divya Jain.
Namaste everyone, I promise I'm the last one. Namaste and hello, good evening to all the council members and Mr. Baker, the mayor. दात व्यमिति यद्दानं दीयते अनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 17 verse 20. It says charity is given to a worthy person simply because it is right to give, without consideration of anything in return, at the proper time and in the proper place, and is stated to be in the mode of goodness. It is privileged to serve mankind, for this is the worship of God. God is here. In all these human souls, He's the soul of man. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. Isn't it beautiful? So following the same beautiful concepts of Hindu scriptures, many of the dharmic organizations came together, where the main goal was to do the selfless seva, service to the mankind without any discrimination of race, religion, color, and anything. Nothing was in consideration, but just a pure intention of serving. My heart overwhelms when I see people serving each other without any other intentions involved, right? I, in the capacity of mother, wife, daughter, Troy resident, and many other capacities that I'm serving, but when the service is on a larger scale to a larger community, that is very overwhelming, heartwarming, heart-touching, and fulfilling at the same time. I want to thank Mr. Baker for attending the Seva Diwali donation drive event recently, where he spoke beautifully and aptly about Diwali, Seva, and how this food donation drive served the needy facing food insecurity. He highlighted the compassion involved in this cause, and this event was attended by other designatory mayors and officials too. Organizations like HSS, MICS, Empower All, Hindu Yuva, Kroger, Meyer, Costco, Sikh Gurudwara of Rochester Hills, Patel Brother India Grocers, Home Depot, VT Seva, Enterprising, Vallabh Youth Organization, MI Bihar temples like ISKCON, Swaminarayan, Hindu Temple of Canton, Sai Temple, Bhatka Hanuman Temple, Balaji Temple supported the Seva Diwali event. I want to thank all these organizations. And I pray that this caravan may grow in future and many more organizations come together and work with us and for this beautiful cause. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Good night.
Thank you. Next up is Walt Stores.
Yeah, Mayor Baker, members of the Troy City Council. I'm Walt Stores. I live at 5676 Martell Drive. I know you have a national consultant reviewing candidates or finding candidates for a city manager. I strongly believe, well, that's been done twice before. I'm sure you're aware it failed miserably both times. Looked good, sounded good, didn't work. So I strongly encourage you to look within. There got to be some candidates here, if not within neighboring cities. The other thing I'd like to say is I'd like to see the city manager and the department heads be required to be residents of the city. I think that way they have more investment in the city and more allegiance, to the residents that way. The other problem I want to talk about is I'm convinced Troy has a serious engineering problem with stormwater handling west and north of 19 Mile and Square Lake. That's I believe the city shouldn't approve any developments in that area until there's a handle on what's going on with the stormwater there. I've lived at 5676 Martell. Are you familiar with Smith Middle School and Martell? Well, it's right down sort of behind Martell and sort of kitty corner from Smith. Well, there's a drain that comes down there between Smith and Martell schools, and it empties out behind two neighbors across the street from me. Well, and I sent you all a letter on this about mid-October, and I included video of the flooding, but it goes underground there. That water goes underground and goes down to Sylvan Glen Lake. It's supposed to, I guess. Anyway, there's just too much water coming down there, because in August of 19, it was above my knees in the street. I had water 2 inches up on my basement windows. Now, I'm across the street from those other two people. It happened again in August of 2023. And the video shows stormwater running around my neighbor's house. And I was out there dragging debris off of the grates, which I think caused flooding on further down. So, a couple things I pointed to is the middle school, Smith Middle School, wants to put another development there. Well, more stormwater, more impermeable surface. The Aptiv building, they've added 2 4-story buildings up there, and if you look at the east part of their lot, the system's not being maintained. It looks woefully inadequate. So if y'all got any questions, but that's the gist of it. I'm absolutely convinced, because in 47 years,
thank you, Mr. Storrs.
47 years, it's happened twice in the last 4.
Thank you.
Okay, I cheated a little.
That's all right. We gave you a few extra seconds there. Appreciate it. That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Now's an opportunity for council and administration to respond and reply. Councilmember Gunn.
Well, I would just like to thank all you students for all the effort you're putting forth and to help the community. I'm pretty involved in some food banks myself, and I really appreciate that. So it's good to see that the youth is stepping up. So nice job.
I want to add that. Thank you for coming here and, doing all this good work you're doing. Especially encouraged to see young people getting involved in community service. So thank you.
City Manager Miller.
Regarding the comment from Mr. Storrs, who's a former Planning Commission member of the City of Troy, we can take a look at it and get a report back to City Council, but I would remind City Council in the past 5-7 years, we've been experiencing 500-year storms like we never used to. We get 500-year storm almost every other year now. But we'll look into it.
I think,
That occurred to me too. I actually saw you speak, I think, at the most recent Planning Commission meeting. Were you at the most recent Planning Commission meeting speaking on this too?
Yes, I attended, but I don't hear.
Ellen, you're breaking the rules.
I broke the rule. I'm sorry.
She broke the rules. Don't take the bait. She'll get in trouble.
I was just looking for a nod. And as I watched that conversation, it occurred to me the 500-year rains that we've had. That is a challenge for every city and for our region. And I think these are good questions being asked. We're constantly looking at that. Our engineering department is looking at that, the capital investments that we need for infrastructure, very important on that. There is, on our consent agenda tonight, we approved a water main replacement that we'll be partnering with Clausen to do. We're always looking at what we need to be doing to move water. So the questions are good, and I appreciate City Manager Miller. If we could have a look at that, maybe an understanding, and it's on our radar, so thank you. And also, who doesn't love it when students are coming in talking about the good works they're doing, and when you're so well-spoken, my goodness. It's a hard act to follow. So thank you for joining us here tonight and echoing the comments of colleagues. Thank you.
Yeah, on both points, these infrastructure issues with public safety, infrastructure is our other big priority of local government. That's what we need to be focused on. So I appreciate when residents come forward and remind us of that, and do it in your email as well. And those videos were very telling, and you're not alone. I've had a lot of residents reach out over the past few years showing videos that they're taking on their cell phones of things that have never happened in the 40-plus years they've lived in that neighborhood. And so I know that it's a real issue, and I know that as we look at our capital needs and funding, infrastructure is something we have to put right at the top to make sure, because it doesn't do us any good to have failing infrastructure all the time. And we know these storms are continuing and the water is just coming strong. And with regards to development, we also are painfully aware of the risks related to those. And also, as a reminder, when we're usually approving a development project of some sort, it's incumbent on the developer of the property to ensure that there's no damage done to other properties. And so there's a lot of time spent with city engineering and a lot of time with every department talking about how the water's best going to be moved, where it's going to be retained and everything. So those are always top of mind, but I do appreciate you coming and reminding us in person. It's very good. And to the Seva Diwali friends, I did get to go to Faith Lutheran. That was a fun event to see all that food come in. Pretty impressive work, and we thank you for all of that work. And it's such an important thing you're doing. And we talk about it a little bit in the city of Troy. People don't often think of the city of Troy as a place that needs food donations, but there are people in our city who definitely have benefited from the work you did and the donations you made in November at Faith Lutheran, and certainly all around that area. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming forward this evening to share with us. That concludes City Council and City Administration response and reply. We have no council referrals this evening. We have no reports, so no one gets to say anything else on reports. That's good. So we move on to council comments. Councilmember Hamilton.
Just wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. This is our last meeting till January 8th, so see you all next year.
Any other council comments and additional? Councilmember Brooks?
Since Edna is no longer here, I think she would always mention, for New Year's Eve and New Year's, just be very safe. A lot of drunk driving accidents happen during that time. So catch yourself an Uber, have a driver to drive you, but it can be a very dangerous time. I want everyone to have fun, but also be safe.
That was very Edna-like. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
So my comments are, you actually shared this in your prayer very beautifully, Mayor, just recognizing it's been a difficult past few months, what's going on in the world. But I've taken heart in both Diwali, Hanukkah, that we're in the midst of, Christmas, that these are festivals and times where we remember light. And I just have so appreciated our South Asian community and the Diwali. And I appreciate the warm invitation. I was working at that time and wasn't able to take part. But those are the things that bring light. It's what we choose to do in our community, the ways you're serving the community, exactly what you're doing in each of us. And so I just wish everyone light, and to ask, how can we be light this season and be light to other people around us? So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Councilmember Argyle.
I'll just wish everybody a happy holiday. Thank you for your involvement in the community. Thank you for attending city council meetings, and keep up the good work.
I want to join there. Yeah.
Calling you.
Wishing everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and stay safe. I think I'm new to this. Welcome to the new family. Right now I feel like already took picture together, so
It's official. Yeah.
official picture. Just happened to be the day I started. We had in 4 years the first time we took a group picture. But wanted to thank everyone here for coming and being involved in city business. So that is really appreciated. And I think what unites us together is far more powerful than our divisions and our difference in opinion. So I wanted to take the moment to thank everyone, the city staff and our council. Thank you.
It's basically been said, but I don't want to be the only one and look like Grinch. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. We've had a lot going on right here in Troy the past couple months with an election, and I am grateful for the civility that we've seen here. And as we've had some good, serious conversations, and people have differing opinions, and we can disagree without being disagreeable, is what I think we're seeing here in Troy. And I'm grateful for that as this year winds down. And take that into the holidays, and hopefully that will continue on in the new year. Do good work together, have good solid discussions and debates, and keep taking care of our community together.
Yeah, I'll be more serious. I mean, everyone's been serious, but a couple of these, I think I tend to say this the last meeting of the year. We're going to start a new year next year. This is more to my fellow council members, but we're a new group. We've got a lot of work to do this next year. We're replacing a city manager, willingly, and that sounded wrong. That's a big job. That's our biggest job potentially we can do for the city as a whole. We've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things that keep coming to us, whether it's EMS related, public safety, police and fire, all of the recreation and parks and infrastructure needs. There's a lot going on in the city of Troy and a lot that needs to be looked at. And I have a feeling, although we struggled scheduling some meetings tonight, I think there'll be a lot of meetings happening in 2024 that are on very important issues, and it's going to be important that we're focused on them and working hard to do it, and I have full confidence that, of course, we all can. And it is nice to have as much as we had the last council body for almost 4 years, which was pretty long and stable, I think, of late. But we have some new team members, and I think I said it before the election, but you're both coming in. You saw, we had council chambers full of people your first meetings, and there's a lot to work on. So I encourage you to. Although we don't meet again for 4 weeks and it's the holidays, keep doing your research, asking questions for any of us are always here, of course, and city staff is always very good about answering questions for us. But I would be remiss if I didn't say Merry Christmas, of course, and Happy New Year to all of the Troy residents, and Happy Holidays to those who maybe don't celebrate Christmas, of course. And city staff, we are dependent on you to keep our city running strong on a day-to-day, so we thank you for all the work that you're doing and ask that you continue to keep up the great work ethic. I also am going to take this moment to thank Cindy Stewart, because she's with me wherever I go to these events, and I appreciate Cindy very much for all the time she spends, not just with me, but for the good of the community. She does a lot of good work for the community, so I want to thank you, Cindy, and that'll be it for council comments. Now, in a really awkward form, we have one more. Next up is public comment for items on or not on the agenda for members of the public outside of Troy. We do have one person signed up this evening, and that is Lisa Rockefeller, who's the Troy police officer. So I'll ask Lisa to come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Baker, members of City Council, and your very impressive and a very impossible act to follow. So I am here before you to ask for your assistance with the request that I have been pursuing with city management. I sent you all an email on Tuesday, November 28th, with attachments explaining my request to be converted back to the pension system, as I was hired in 1999 and was enrolled in the pension system at that time. I have recently been advised from HR in writing that my request was denied with no explanation provided. As you will see in the attachments that I provided with the email, I feel I do have a legitimate legal basis for this request, and conversions from defined contribution to defined benefit were made in the past to many employees. I opted out of the defined benefit plan in 2000, as only your legally married spouse is entitled to your survivor benefits. When same-sex marriage became legalized in the United States in 2015, my wife and I got married right next door at the 52-4 District Court in July of 2015. If same-sex marriage were legalized, I never would have converted to a 401 defined contribution plan. As you will see in the enclosed attachments that I included, many employees did convert from defined contribution to defined benefit, and some of those officers were in the same union as me. And you will see the letter of understanding dated July 5th of 2011, where in that packet was the ability to convert from defined contribution to defined benefit, or you received $1,000 per years of service if you were in defined benefit at that time. June 8th of 2011, you can see the number of employees that converted from defined contribution to defined benefit, or they received the $1,000 cash payout, as well as the officers in my own union that did not have 25 years of service, but yet still retired with full pensions and full benefits. With 50 seconds left, telling you a little bit about myself, I graduated from college with my Michigan teaching certificate. I was not able to find a job teaching, so I decided to serve my community in another capacity. I put myself through the police academy, became a public safety officer for the city of Farmington, then was
hired by the City of Troy in 1999, and I've worked in the Road Patrol Division, Field Training Officer Division, Criminal Investigations Division, Community Services Officer, and I was assigned to Troy High School. In the years I've served here, I've received 17 commendations over the course of 25 years, and I've never received any formal discipline. I respectfully request that you please consider my proposal to convert to the defined benefit system, and please don't penalize me for who I am and who I love. Thank you, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming forward and for waiting around to all that this evening. I talked to City Manager Miller briefly about this earlier today, and is there consensus from council? We've received some information looking for consensus for city management and administration to look at some of the finances related to what this would entail. You're not the only one affected. You can't come forward and talk, sorry, but you're not the, you can sit back down because there's no more back and forth. That's the fun part of our rules. But there was, as we received some information from administration about there were others potentially, and I'm curious what kind of financial ramifications this would be for our city. I certainly would like more information. Is that
Yes.
fair?
Okay.
For sure.
Will do.
So we've done our next step. We're looking for more information. And, we're in a weird position. We don't direct city management to make decisions as it relates to HR especially. So, but we're doing what we can. And City Manager Miller?
The one thing I just would like to say is that there was really no decision for management to make, is that there is no program right now to convert. There was in 2011 because we were reducing employees to save money, so we're encouraging people to move on. So we would have to actually change our plan, and that would take a lot of heavy lifting to get to that point, and obviously City Council would have to approve of a new plan or amend our current plan to allow for it. But we'll have to look into it, and we may have to get actuaries involved also to figure this out.
And of course, thank you for 25 years, or nearly 25 years of service at this point. Thank you. All right, with no closed session this evening, we're adjourned.
Thanks for sending the email so quickly.